Welcome everyone to my bookcase tour, and we are going to be starting with the children's book section. So who better to help me go through the children's books than the two kiddos that have been reading with me? You guys want to look at the books?
Yeah.
Should we help me box them up?
Yeah.
And put them away?
Yeah.
And pick which ones we're going to keep?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, let's do this! Woohoo! See if I can hold this back here. There we go. So what we're going to do is go through these books, not one by one because that would take forever, but I'm going to count them and then I'm going to talk about how many I've read, how many I haven't read, and then share some of my personal favorites. And then I'm going to go through and box them up and you guys will get to watch me do that and the heartbreaking part. But my girls wanted to know if they could tell you about some of their favorite books first. So I'm going to let them start off the video telling you what some of their favorites are, and then we'll get on to my personal childhood favorites. So, here we go.
My favorite is Peter Rabbit.
Can you show me Peter Rabbit in the book? No. Now show me inside. Where is it inside the book? That's actually Squirrel, not Ken. Where's Peter Rabbit? There it was. There it was. Peter Rabbit! Why do you like Peter Rabbit?
I like Peter Rabbit.
Is it because he's silly?
Yes. Two of my favorite books are Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Can you tell them one thing about it that you love?
It's that Charlie he didn't get a golden ticket when he got a chocolate, but then at the rest of the movie, at the end, he got a golden ticket.
Mm-hmm. What's the other favorite book?
And my other favorite book is way better than Chocolate. The Charlotte's Web. It's my favorite book ever.
What's one thing you love about it?
It's that the pig gets to know Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Do they become best friends?
And they become best friends. And these are my favorite book.
Okay, so I have gone through and counted, but I'm not sure that the count is correct because I know for sure that I am missing a couple of books. Parts of series that I don't know where they are, and so hopefully they will pop up as we continue to sort through more books and go around the house and find things, which is another reason why I will not be taping up any boxes until everything has been boxed up. So I'm going to go through now and talk about the favorites, and then at the end of the video I will tell you how many books I have that I have counted so far and how many books I have read of them. These are just a couple of my favorites. To go through all of my favorites would take forever, but these are like the ones that stand out as I want to hold on to these forever. So my number one favorite children's book of all time is actually one of my top 3 favorite novels of all time. And that is The Tower of Gabora by John White. If you have no idea what this is a Narnia-esque story. 3 siblings travel to another world and they end up... My children are walking in the background, so if you're wondering all the noises. But 3 children, 3 siblings in Canada, actually, who travel magically to another world and end up, of course, being needed to save that world. And it's a lot of fun, very Narnia-esque, like very, even down to some of the allegorical elements. But I enjoyed it anyways. I love Narnia. And these books were actually written by a man whose kids said, hey, we want more books like Narnia, and so he wrote them. So there's 6 of these, and I have all of them. I have only read 2 of them, though, so that is actually part of what I will be reading through these with my kids when they get a little bit older, and I will get to read them as I read them to the kids. So, Tower of Gabora, number 1. If you like Narnia, you might like this. So I'm actually going to start off with a couple of collections that I have. And of course, the first is Narnia. This book was a Barnes & Noble edition, I want to say. Okay. So this is all 7 novels of the Narnia books. My very favorite of all of them is The Last Battle. Second favorite is actually The Magician's Nephew. I have a thing for the 2 of those. I'm not sure why. And then, of course, third favorite is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But I just love this cover with the white witch on the background. Ah! It's just so beautiful. And, of course, it's got, like, gold. I love it so much. And maps. You guys know I love maps. And something parents... My mom, every book that she's ever gotten me, she inscribed on the inside and wrote something to me personally about the book and about me. And that's huge to a child. So if you ever give your children books, make sure to write on the inside. Yes, this is my next favorite that I was going to show. Thank you. This is another huge favorite. This is definitely more children, like their age children. But Brambley Hedge. I actually fell in love with one of the stories. This is a collection. I fell in love with one of the individual picture books when I was about their age. And I remembered very distinctly the pictures, and I remembered that there was mice that were taking blankets to voles across the mountains, but that was all that I could remember. And I remember this one picture of the mountains with the blueberry. But I was telling my mother about this, and she was like, oh, you mean Brambley Hedge? Well, we ended up looking through a whole bunch of different books, and we finally found the one, and this was the picture that I remembered. And from that picture and the description of the story, my mom was able to help me find Brambley Hedge's cutest stories. I would say that the artistry actually rivals Beatrix Potter. And then Trudy wanted me to show you the Ice Palace from one of the stories. Again, my mother inscribed on the inside. Even though, like, I was an adult when she bought it for me, she still inscribed to me and the girls. So, again, inscribing. But the pictures are gorgeous. The stories are fun. I just love these books so much. Cannot recommend the Brambley Hedge books enough. And the last of these that is a collection is Flower Fables by Louisa May Alcott. This is another one that I fell in love with as a child and then didn't find until I was an adult. But these were fables that were written by Louisa May Alcott, and then I think they were discovered, I don't know when, but they were illustrated and published more recently. I'm trying to remember. You know what? I could look in the back and see when. It wasn't until 1998 that they were illustrated and they were put together. And I just, if you love, like, fairy stories... and then like on the back with the mice, them riding mice. If you love fairy stories, then you must add these to your collection. Thank you for the tea! Of course, I could not let this video go without mentioning The Wind and the Willows, but this one just has the most beautiful, this is one of the original versions, I think, but by Kenneth Graham. Wind and the Willows, a story of Mole and Water Rat and Toad. Oh, I love Toad. Badger, although Badger's one of my favorites. Thank you for strawberry. But their adventures and all the craziness that happens, just, I love it so much. Yeah, and I think this is another, yep, this was my birthday in 2002. I would have been turning 10. My mother inscribed to me. The last of the fantasies, of course, Princess and the Goblin. Could not go without mentioning The Princess and the Goblin. Talk about a classic. George MacDonald was actually someone who inspired Tolkien, but it's a story about a little princess, a very nice, sweet, naive little princess who finds out that there are goblins under, like, the kingdom, and the goblins come for her. And she has a little friend. Oh shoot, what is his name? Curdy, I couldn't remember his name. A little friend named Curdy, a little boy who, I can't remember exactly what his position is, but he's like a peasant type. And the two of them work together to foil the goblin schemes. It's just got goblins and a princess and a grandmother who lives in a tower. It's like fairy tale vibes, but it's a classic novel, so I love it. With icing on it, she's giving me all kinds of fun stuff here, y'all. Now moving out of the fantasy, because that fantasy is not all that I read, I promise. Thank you. Come my last 4, and these are, some of them are sort of classics, but most of them are just older books. I did go through a horse phase that a lot of us went through, like ages 10 to 12 especially, but my favorite of all my horse books was Mustang, Wild Spirit of the West, which I believe is actually a true story, like a fiction novel, at least based on a true story about, yeah, it is. It's the true story of Wild Horse Annie's crusade to save the Mustangs. So it's about a little girl who loves Mustangs, has been working with wild Mustangs, and then finds out that cattlemen have been herding them to turn into dog food, basically. And she goes out on a crusade to save them. And I just loved it so much. Any of Marguerite Henry's books are amazing, but this honestly is one of my very favorites. The next is Little Britches, which was originally Father and I Were Ranchers. But Little Britches is basically like a boy version of the Little House on the Prairie books, but from the early 1900s instead of mid-1800s. By Ralph Moody, and they are real stories, the same way that the Little House on the Prairies are. You're my mom? Okay, and you have a baby? Okay. These ones, this is actually a collection of the Melody Family Stories by Elizabeth Enright. And, oh, hang on a second. We gotta do it. If you do not smell old books, I do not know how we can be friends.
Put my baby in the booth to see.
Yeah, but these are the story of 4 siblings in, I want to say, like the 1930s and 40s. I know one of them at least takes place during the 1940s because their dad is a doctor during World War II. But it's about them moving into a new house and all the crazy adventures they get into, and it's just so much fun. Just so much fun. It's got true-to-life sibling dynamics, but it's it's an old-fashioned, good old-fashioned, having fun with your siblings out in the middle of the country type story. My favorite of them is The Saturdays. Just a lot of fun. And then, of course, the very last one, I could not do a children's book haul, or whatever you want to call it, without mentioning Anne of Green Gables. This book I have read so many times. I have actually not read any of the other Anne of Green Gables books, but this book I have read a lot. And again, inscribed by my mother. Can you tell that a lot of my love came from my mother? A lot of my love for books came from my mother. You got that? Yeah. Why don't you take it over here? But I related to Anne and her sense of whimsy and her love of exciting, dramatic, romantic stories and just her over-dramaticness as a child. I related to this a lot. And I loved that it was set in the Edwardian period. It may have been Victorian, actually. The first one may have been Edwardian, or Victorian. Hi, baby! But I love this book so, so, so much. And I do have, I think, all of the others, but those are some ones that are missing. So I'm not sure how many of them I have. But I've only read the first one. But this is one of my absolute favorites. So now that I'm done gabbing on about my favorite books, I am now going to start actually packing these books. But I do need to make sure that I have all the books. As you can see, I'm just going to scooch this out of the way. Honey, is it okay if I scooch these? All of these books, there's actually more children's books. I have the entire Boxcar Children, like the originals. I actually don't even have all those. I have most of them, but I have the originals, which the very first Boxcar Children book is actually one of my top 10 favorite children's books. But I have more collections. I have a ton of, like, The Royal Diaries, Dear America, and then, of course, what young girl's collection could be complete without Nancy Drew. I have, like, I think the first 12. And then a whole bunch of other books, but I don't have, again, time to go through all the books I have. Now I'm just going to pack them, and we're going to see what happens. So I will catch you on the flip side of that. it is done now. So, that is 4 boxes fewer that I have to pack, but the poor little shelves look so empty. This is gonna be hard. Okay, so we are done with the packing, and I made lists of books that were packed, and counting, I think all, but there are a couple that may have gotten taken out to put in a separate box. Counting the ones that are here, I have 125 children's books. Now that is including treasuries and collections, so some of them may actually contain multiple stories. But of those 125 books and treasuries, I have only read 52. And I was looking back over like all the different book titles and all the different ones that I've actually read, and I realized a number of them I read when I was really young, and so I don't actually remember, like I remember reading them, but I don't remember very much of the story. So suffice to say that a couple of read-throughs of some of the ones that I don't remember would be nice, but again, this is why I'm so excited I get to read these books back with my kids, and why I've been holding on to oldies. So there were some very, very old books in there. I've been holding on to those from my mother gave them to me, or, you know, old library sales or whatever. So these books are very important to me for a lot of reasons. Obviously, as a storyteller, they're especially important to me. So there you have it. We packed 4 boxes of books, and we counted and we listed all of them. So I feel very proud of myself. Now, that also does not include the Dear Princess books, the Dear America books, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, collections of those types of books, not collections, but like series of that kind. I didn't include those, so I've read quite a few of those as well, although not as many as I would have liked. Anyways, so that is the end of this video. I am finished with packing for the day. And now we are about to head down to the store and then maybe over to the park. Yeah, the park. And I had thought about doing a second video. In fact, I was planning on it, where I would go through the other books, like the really pretty ones. And I may, but it won't be the same kind of video as this, where I'm actually packing them and you're getting to watch me like write down the numbers and I'm talking to you about it. It won't be where I'm telling you all the books and favorites and things like that. Largely because my #1 favorite book in the whole world I have lost. And I don't know where it is, and I'm praying that while we're in the middle of moving, we'll actually find it. But yeah, I lost it, so we don't have that book. But I may do more of like an aesthetic video like last week's vlog was, where I just go through, you get to see the titles as I'm packing them, and it's just more moving, and it may be part of like the saying goodbye to the apartment video and all that. So I'm now going to give myself the treat of going outside in the fresh air and being with my kiddos, and then soon Daddy will be home and we'll spend time with them. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, and if you're looking forward to more videos featuring these crazy people, then be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for when that next book video comes up. Anyways, I love you all. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week writing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!